What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Should have liked and sub, and let's get into this. Not exactly a stretch of the imagination to say that the comic book industry is struggle bussing something fierce. And we've had someone, well, we had a lot of people saying that, but someone in particular, of course, would be Rob Liefeld, who has been saying this quite loudly. He's also been chastising Marvel, both the comic version and the cinematic portion, from Kevin Feige all the way down to the editors. So everyone, they are in fact a train wreck. And specifically, he's calling for the firing of 3 Marvel executives. And I do so enjoy when people name names, because when you just say Marvel and Disney, and it's like, well, it's not just Marvel and Disney, because there are, and I know it's hard to believe, some good people in those companies that actually want to make good products. But unfortunately, the people with more clout and a little bit more ideology are the ones in charge. So as we know here, comic industry is in dire straits. That's been known for some time. Sales are atrocious, and they are only going down. And the only time any of this stuff sells is when they do all those cover variants and so on and so forth, and cheap, gimmicky, key jangling. Actual comics with good writing, few and far between. Liefeld here on the most blurriest tweet ever saying, had a good talk with my attorney. Time to hold some feet to the fire for some shady practices over at Marvel. Good times to come at Robert Iger. So a lot of people going like, what's going on? What are you talking about? So he posted this. And for clarification, when I say Marvel, I'm not talking the West Coast cinematic branch. New York, as referenced here in 2015 Hollywood Reporter. And that said here, Marvel's Civil War, why Kevin Feige demanded emancipation from. So he's basically blaming Kevin Feige and his control on the East Coast of all the things. So he gets into naming who the names were here. Kevin Feige does not treat comic book creators well. This is Rob Liefeld talking. Kevin Feige does not treat comic book creators well. This is my personal experience. This last issue of Deadpool Team Up is my final work with all the gang and my last work with Marvel. I had a good time. In stores February 12th. Another tweet saying the guys at the top of the executive suite in publishing have to go. And here's the names: Buckley, Bogart, and Gabriel. These guys have no new moves. They are spent and tired, and it shows. Start over. My career has been across 7 editor-in-chiefs, seen it done way better by brighter and more focused minds. So Buckley refers to Dan Buckley. He is the president of Marvel Entertainment since 2017, where he oversees all TV, publishing, and brand. Bogart refers to David Bogart Sr. He's the vice president of operations and procurement at Marvel. And Gabriel refers to David Gabriel, who's in sales, administration, and publishing, who oversees Marvel's graphic novels and reprints in omnibuses. See here, it's unknown why Liefeld signaled out these 3 rather than the creatives who are making terrible choices at Marvel Comics. But many in his comments also called for the firing of C.B. Cebulski, Marvel's editor-in-chief, and Tom Brevoort, the embattled line editor of X-Men. In a separate tweet, he did tackle the X-Men offices, saying, man, I can't make folks go on the record, but I can tell you, based on my DMs, that comic book professionals en masse agree that the train wreck the X-Men office is sad. Was once the gold standard of comic book storytelling. And then just finishing off here, new episode of Robservations, because we found out if your name is Rob, you have to have a podcast named Robservations. By the way, happy birthday, Robert. New Robservations, X-Men in Crisis, 1 year into the most recent relaunch, drowning in canceled titles and failing sales. We offer 5 fixes before it's too late. And that is what I like to see. This was the whole thing on Film Threat the other day. If you watch that whole argument about Star Wars, everyone wants to talk about all this fantastical shit that everyone. Well, of course we know that if you got rid of the current Disney and brought back Legends, you did all this thing that would make $1 billion. Like, we all know how to fix X-Men and Star Wars and Star Trek and Doctor Who, but what is the more realistic approach? And at least Robert here he's giving realistic approaches to how you could right now fix the comic book industry, because it's going to be a multiple step process. So I do appreciate when people give realistic ways to save something instead of just the super obvious, oh, just get rid of all the bad stuff and bring back the good stuff. That's not how that works. I wish it did, but that's not how that works. You gotta be a little bit more tactical. And thank you, Rob, for doing so. Either way, let me know what you think about this. By all means, make sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, thank you. If you're gonna do that, thank you.
Well, bye.